So that new Spider-Man film finally came out. I haven't seen it yet, I don't really know what happens in it, but it got me thinking that a lot of our favourite cyclocross riders cross over remarkably well with popular characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've got the cocky youngster who is already considered a Titan despite not really doing anything at the level of his fellow Titans, but definitely having the potential for the future. We have Ant-Man, famously small, he's a very serious hero in his own right, but he gets overshadowed a bit by the bigger fish. And of course, we have Captain America, flying the American flag in your face so violently with such success that I struggle to warm to them completely. But in the spring of 2019, it was finally time for Chris Evans to hang up his sparkly spandex and hand his Stars and Stripes shield over to a successor. 6 months later, our own sports Captain America did so too. The old guard made way for the new, so I introduce to you your new Captain America, Clara Honsinger. The story of how Honsinger has become America's new great hope is one that starts back in 1997 in a place called Ashland in Oregon, which honestly sounds pretty Star Wars and not so much somewhere on actual Earth. Honsinger was born here and grew up riding bikes on the local trails with her father. This is pretty much all the information I was able to discover by stalking through team roster pages and interviews before it began to feel a bit weird. One thing, however, that those team roster pages and interviews did teach me is that if you're ever in conversation with Clara Honsinger, the person, she will almost certainly mention learning or trying to learn or getting better at something. And I find that truly fascinating because I think it helps illustrate a lot about Clara Honsinger, the rider. Honsinger is a winner, you have to be to reach the level that she's at, but she isn't quite a winner in the same way Marianne Vos is, or Mathieu van der Poel. I've had moments watching those two race where I genuinely thought they'd lost the plot, that they had gone unhinged and they might just commit a serious crime if they didn't win. But when watching Clara Honsinger race, you see someone who is focused not strictly on winning, but on improvement. Someone who is always curious as to improve her ability and to get better as a cyclist. And be that a first place, a second place, a third, a fourth, a fifth, that's not really important. It's more about moving up, getting better. Where Vos is willing to force her way through gaps, just look at Val d'Isole recently, Honsinger gets plagued with poor starts, partially caused by her being too nice to her competitors and letting them force her out the way. And where I'm scared I've painted this curiosity in a negative light, I want to make it abundantly clear that I in fact think this is the attitude to life and career that everyone should aim to have. It's incredible, and honestly I'm quite jealous of it. Curiosity to me is a far better song than it's got any right to be, but it's also the driver of achievement, and if that is to be listened to, an awful lot of success should be heading the way of our favourite American. Of course, some of Honsinger's successes are already in her past. The oldest result I was able to find dates back to November 2015, where an 18-year-old Honsinger took 2 6th places at the Subaru Cyclo Cup. In early January, Honsinger would round off that season with a 9th place at the Under-23 National Championships in Asheville. The following season would be fairly similar. Honsinger would this year end up finishing 6th at the Nationals, now held in Hartford. In the 2017-18 season, Honsinger started with a career-first elite podium. She achieved this at the Jingle Cross, though this was not a World Cup race. Following on from this were numerous top 10 finishes and a 2nd place at the Under-23 Pan American Championships. Following on from this, Honsinger travelled all the way to Belgium to race the Flandrian Cross, where she finished a pretty impressive 14th with the elites. Then she instantly flew back. Don't know why. January 2018 saw Honsinger take 2nd at the Under-23 Nationals, make her World Cup debut with a 43rd place in Hoge Heide, and then finish 14th at the Under-23 World Championships in Valkenburg. The next season would be the final primarily Under-23 season, and it was a tremendous success. She rode the US World Cups and finished a lot higher than 43rd, and in Boulder at the US Open of cyclocross, she took her first 2 elite victories. A 3rd victory would follow at the Under-23 Pan American Championships. She would also become the Under-23 National US Cyclocross Champion. Either side of this title-winning effort, Honsinger made trips to Europe, riding elite World Cups and slowly improving, eventually reaching a 19th position at the final race in Hoge Heide. She rounded out her season with a top 10 at the most stacked under-23 World Championships I think I've ever seen in Bugenza. 2019-20 was the season that the world truly first saw Clara Honsinger, racking up constant podiums in the early season, including a first World Cup podium in Iowa City. Honsinger finished in the top 10 in every race she entered in North America, the pick of the bunch being a second place at the Elite Pan Ams behind Magali Rochette. But then the big day finally came. In Lakewood, where Honsinger had ridden her first recorded race, that Subaru Cyclo Cup, years ago, on essentially home turf, she became the woman who would finally dethrone Katie Compton. On a technical course, Honsinger held off Rebecca Farringer to become American champion for the first time. She now truly had broken out in America, ending the 15-year streak of domination of Katie Compton. A European breakthrough was only 7 days away. A week later, Clara finished in the top 10 of a European race for the first time, taking 6th place at the Namur World Cup. A decent European stint was rounded off with another top 10, finishing 6th place, this time in Nomé. In a similar fashion to her racing style, Honsinger has kept slowly improving. Throughout last season she did so too. Racing exclusively in Europe due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Honsinger hit some incredible form in December, taking 2nd in Namur and in Dendermonde. She also narrowly missed out on some podiums, taking 4th places in Gavere, Herentals, Bredene and Overijse. 4 would continue to be an important number for Honsinger, as it would be her final finishing place in the World Cup standings, and she would go on to finish 4th at the World Championships in Ostende. So far this season has been a continuation of this success. Honsinger dominantly defended her national title, easing home over 3 minutes ahead of her nearest rival. She took another World Cup podium in Fayetteville, and on the 1st of November rode herself into the history books as the first non-European to win the Koppenberg Cross in a display of sheer brilliance. This also means that she's the first person to deal with the logistical nightmare of moving an old Belgian cobblestone all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. Over the course of the early years of her career, Honsinger has amassed 10 elite victories, the biggest being the 2 national titles and the Koppenberg Cross. Being only 24, Honsinger has quite some time left to add to that palmarès. Honsinger's primary focus has always been cyclocross, though starting January 1st the American will be a World Tour cyclist, with her team Tibco gaining the support of Education First and moving up to the Women's World Tour on the road. Honsinger rode a modest calendar last year, but did get to race Le Course, the Giro Rosa and the US Nationals. In the last one, she was even absolutely essential in bridging a gap for her teammate Lauren Stevens, who would go on to win the title. Honsinger's road campaign seemed to be ridden largely as a domestique, but she's shown decent performances against the clock. Her ability to put out really consistent high power, and especially the incredible performance on the Koppenberg, casually putting 10 to 20 seconds into everyone, including former Dutch road champion Lucinda Brandt, makes me think that I'd like to see Honsinger try some more on the road, be it in the early season classics, or maybe seeing how she'd do in some high mountaineering. That, however, would be for the future, where frankly who knows what could happen. I wrote this script on the Friday before Namur, and it literally says, Namur will be in 2 days, and judging by her past results here, this could be her best shot at winning at the World Cup yet. We all saw how that went. Honsinger's main target, however, this year will, much like anybody else from North America, be the World Championships held in Fayetteville in Arkansas, where if the racing gets muddy and the weather takes a turn, she could be in with a very real shout. However, there's so much more racing to do, and a slight upturn in form could be needed. This upturn would have to happen somewhere in the next month, where I don't actually know where she'll be racing. Honsinger and her team, Cannondale Cyclocross World, have not announced the calendar for the second half of the season as far as I'm aware. The World Cups in Rukven and Namur were her return to Europe following a successful national title defence. I don't know this with 100% certainty, but I would be fairly confident in seeing Honsinger race the big 3 competitions throughout December and January up until Fayetteville. From then on, who knows if another flight across the Atlantic to round off the season on European soil is something that she'd even want or would be recommended. Whatever the decision may be, America has a new protector, one who will be here for many years to come. And as a Briton, I think this might be sacrilegious to say, but my favourite superhero might just be Captain America.